Nahir Galarza was born on September 11, 1998, in Gualeguaychú, a city in the Entre Rios province of Argentina. She grew up in a middle-class family. Her father, Marcelo Galarza, was a police officer, and her mother, Yamina Crow, worked as a teacher. Nahir attended local schools in Gualeguaychú and later enrolled in university, where she studied psychology. She was described as an intelligent and diligent student with aspirations for a professional career. Nahir was active on social media and enjoyed spending time with friends. She appeared to lead a typical life for a young woman her age, with no major signs of trouble visible to outsiders before the incident. Nahir had interests typical of many young adults, including music, fitness, and fashion. She was also known for her athletic abilities, particularly in sports such as handball. Nahir's life, however, took a dark and tragic turn with her turbulent relationship with Fernando Pastorizzo, a young man she had been dating on and off for several years. The pair's relationship, according to friends and family, was marked by frequent arguments and emotional highs and lows. Some described it as a toxic dynamic. Although Nahir and Fernando were often seen together, their relationship was described by both friends and family as on-again, off-again. During the periods when they were apart, Nahir reportedly dated and maintained connections with other men. This was highlighted during the trial as part of the broader picture of their relationship. Several individuals testified that Nahir frequently saw other men, even when she was technically still involved with Fernando. Some of these encounters were brief, while others were more sustained. One of the key testimonies during the trial came from Rafael Sotelo, a man who claimed to have had a significant romantic involvement with Nahir. Sotelo described their relationship as passionate but short-lived. He noted that Nahir never seemed fully committed to Fernando, despite continuing to see him. According to trial evidence, Fernando was aware of Nahir's interactions with other men, which often became a source of conflict. Witnesses, including friends of both Nahir and Fernando, testified that Fernando frequently expressed jealousy and frustration over Nahir's perceived infidelity. The prosecution presented text messages between Nahir and Fernando, where Fernando confronted her about her other relationships. These messages showed Fernando's emotional distress and jealousy, and Nahir's often dismissive or defensive responses. Friends describe how arguments about Nahir's other relationships would escalate. On some occasions, Fernando allegedly threatened to expose her infidelity to her family and social circle, further straining their already fragile relationship. Nahir, on the other hand, portrayed Fernando as possessive and controlling. During her trial, she claimed that Fernando's jealousy often led to arguments and emotional manipulation. She argued that her relationships with other men were a way to assert her independence and escape from Fernando's control, particularly during periods when they were not officially together. Testimony and evidence revealed that Nahir often used manipulation to maintain control over both Fernando and her other relationships. Despite conflicts, she would frequently return to Fernando, continuing a cycle of reconciliation and conflict. Fernando struggled with the emotional toll of Nahir's infidelity. Friends described him as someone who deeply cared for Nahir, despite the constant turmoil. His inability to fully break away from her complicated their dynamic and may have fueled his confrontational behavior. On the evening of December 28, 2017, Nahir and Fernando were seen together. They spent the night riding on Fernando's motorcycle, eventually arriving at Nahir's home. Witnesses later reported seeing the couple arguing, which wasn't unusual for them. In the early hours of December 29, 2017, something catastrophic happened. As they rode through the quiet streets of Gualeguaychú, Nahir pulled out her father's Ninem service pistol and shot Fernando twice, once in the chest and once in the back. Fernando collapsed on the pavement near his motorcycle, where he was later found lifeless. Fernando's body was discovered by a passerby, who immediately contacted the police. The crime scene suggested a violent and sudden attack, but there were few clues about who might be responsible. Investigators found the motorcycle lying on its side near Fernando's body, and bullet casings were recovered nearby. The investigation quickly intensified when police identified the murder weapon as Marcelo Galarza's service pistol. This led them to question Nahir, who initially denied any involvement in the crime. She claimed to have no knowledge of what had happened to Fernando. As evidence mounted, including forensic tests that detected gunpowder residue on Nahir's hands and security footage showing the couple together shortly before the murder, Nahir's story began to unravel. Confronted with the evidence, she finally confessed, but claimed the shooting was an accident. According to Nahir, during a heated argument, she grabbed the gun and it discharged unintentionally. However, forensic analysis told a different story. The trajectory and proximity of the gunshots indicated deliberate intent. One shot struck Fernando in the chest, fatally wounding him, while the second shot was fired after he had already fallen, hitting him in the back. The trial of Nahir Galarza began in early 2018 and quickly became a media sensation in Argentina. The prosecution charged her with aggravated homicide, emphasizing the deliberate nature of the crime. They presented a strong case. Forensic evidence contradicted her claim of an accidental shooting. Text messages and call records revealed a volatile relationship, with frequent arguments, and security footage placed her with Fernando shortly before his death. The defense argued that Nahir was a victim of emotional and physical abuse. They portrayed Fernando as a controlling and abusive partner, suggesting that years of mistreatment contributed to her actions. They maintained that the first shot was accidental and the second was fired in a panic. After weeks of testimony, the court found Nahir guilty. On July 3, 2018, she was sentenced to life in prison, making her the youngest woman in Argentina to receive such a sentence. The case did not end with the verdict. It sparked widespread debate across Argentina, dividing public opinion. Some saw Nahir as a cold-blooded killer, while others believed she was a victim of abuse who had been pushed to her breaking point. In the years following her conviction, Nahir's defense team has filed multiple appeals, arguing that her trial was unfair and that the media coverage influenced the outcome. Despite these efforts, her sentence remains unchanged. From prison, Nahir has given several interviews, maintaining her innocence and insisting that she never intended to kill Fernando. She claims she was judged harshly due to public scrutiny and a desire for swift justice. The story of Nahir Galarza and Fernando Pastorizzo remains one of Argentina's most notorious and polarizing criminal cases. It raised critical questions about domestic violence, youth relationships, and the role of the media in high-profile trials. Though the facts of that tragic December night are now set in legal record, the case continues to resonate, leaving an indelible mark on the nation's consciousness.